does that come from? Well, Rick read my bio before, and I appreciate the reading of it. It was wonderful. Did you notice all the labels in there? Transformational leader, national award winner from Clemson. Do you notice the degrees? Whoa, degrees and titles. Wow, I've got a bunch of titles too, CEO, executive director, all that stuff. Do you realize that's the problem? Is that we worry too much about titles and not about testimony? We worry too much about labels and not about legacy. And we worry too much about degrees and not about temperature. I'll let you think about that one. Did you catch that? We worry too much about degrees and not enough about temperature. In other words, are you sitting here today? I heard somebody talking about Young Life. Is that correct?
Youth for Christ.
Youth for Christ, okay. Yes, it is. I do know that. Thanks. Somewhat like Campus Crusade for Christ, different organization. Yes, you are. So my question to all of you would be, and I'm certain many of you are going to raise your hand, how many of you have been or are involved with a youth-serving nonprofit? Remember, churches are nonprofits. Remember that. A youth-serving nonprofit, meaning that somewhere you've been on a board, or you volunteered, or you mentored, or you actually work for a nonprofit. Just raise your hand. Okay, it's almost all of you. And Cheryl, you have too as a teacher, plus all the work in the churches that we've done over the years. Now, all that to say, my next question is very important. Do you still love it? Kids are watching. They are bloodhounds. And they can sniff out our sincerity if we are there for a paycheck or if we are there for them. And often they might even ask us, are you doing this because you're paid to do it? I remember the young boy that John Payton, our former mayor, had, he and I co-mentored. Kenny, wonderful young man. He's now married with a child, doing very well. He went into the Marines. He's back home now, and he works for a company that hires vets. The exciting thing during those years is we met him one time, and it was probably after one of our 6 years we were with him. And he looked at both of us and he said, are you doing this because somebody pays you to do it? What a powerful question. He had the guts to ask us. But kids do really want to know that. Are you paid to be with me? Do they pay you from this church to be my Sunday school teacher? Do they pay? And often with youth pastors, that is the case. They're paid. Sometimes they're not. But kids sniff out our sincerity like a bloodhound when it comes to whether we care for them or not. And it would be more important for us, labels, legacy, titles, testimony, degrees, temperature. It would be more important for us to be more concerned about adjectives than nouns, so that when we ask a child, what do you want to be someday, they typically will answer in the form of a noun. I want to be a doctor, an athlete, a teacher, an actor. Always a noun. Wouldn't it be cool if we raised a culture of young people that answered with an adjective? I want to be kind, compassionate, dependable, reliable. And then attach that with a noun. I want to be kind, dependable, reliable, honest, lawyer. I said that to the Bar Association. They just laughed their heads off. This is a few years ago. I had a fun time with them. It gets to your heart. You know, are you overpaid for what you do? Do you really believe in what you're doing? Have you lost your new believer for what you're doing? Are you making a difference and making a living at the right time? Are you really going against the typical song or adage that we often hear, even in our churches, live as if this were your last day? I need to tell you that is wrong. Because if this were really your last day, honest to goodness, you knew you were not going to live past this day, would you really have come this morning? Honestly? I mean, look around the room. Is that who you want to spend the very last moments of your life with? Probably not. You're all wonderful people, but I'd probably go to one of our children's homes, or they would come to our house if we knew that today was the very last day. We are not to be living as if this was our last day. I think it was Thomas Edison that said, work as if you're going to live another 100 years, but pray as if today were the last day. That's a wonderful way to live. This is not our last day necessarily. Could be. But I'm going to guess that if you knew it was, you wouldn't be here. You would be somewhere else. So let's live as if our lives matter 100 years from now, as if our lives make a difference.